Most morning, when weather lets me, I ride my bike to church. And my route takes me along the San Lorenzo, the river that runs right through the middle of downtown Santa Cruz. It's a beautiful ride. The light comes down through the sycamore. The water moves the way water has moved for 10,000 years. Some mornings it's so lovely, I forget I'm even paddling. And then I see the tents along the same riverbank, under the same sycamore, the same beautiful water, and people living beside it with nowhere else to go. The light, the shadow share the riverbank. And every morning by car or by bike, I ride past. The same question rides along with me. What can we do? We are not getting any younger. We have held meetings. We have had a conversation. We have prayed. And the tent are still there. The river keeps moving, and so do I. Right past on my way to somewhere. Maybe you know that feeling, and not just about the river. We have just come through an election, and the community around us feels no less divided, no less uncertain than before. So we look at the world and wonder what one church could possibly change. And it comes closer than that. We feel it in our own lives. A friend, many of you know, learned a few weeks ago, he can no longer drive. Just like that, a piece of his freedom gone. And he's not alone. Some of us are watching our world grow quietly smaller. The things we used to do, the strengths we used to have, slipping from a little. There are mornings, any one of us might wonder, what do I still have to offer? We are people who pass by a great deal we cannot fix. The riverbank, the division, the things slipping from our own hands, and underneath all the passing, a question we rarely say out loud. Is there anything left in these hands to give? This morning, God's word answered that question, not with a strategy, but with a story. And it's a story that was first told to the people sitting beside a river that was not their own. So let us go and sit down beside them and listen. So close your eyes for a moment if you'd like. And imagine with me, it's 600 before Christ. By the river of Babylon, a community of exile is camped far from home. They are by the river because the river's edge has always been the margin. The strip of the city left for those with nowhere else to go. It was no different by the canals of Babylon. They have lost everything. Their city burned, their temple gone, and themselves carried off to a land that is not theirs. The children have never even seen Jerusalem. And so, in the evening by the water, an old man and gathered his grandchildren and tell them the oldest story they have, the way grandparents do. for the 100th times, and the children could probably finish every sentence long ago, he says. And there was another old man in another foreign land. His name was Abram. And here's what the children heard. God came to him and said, "Go from your country, your kindred, and your father's house, to the land I will show you. Leave everything, your country, your people, and your father's house." In that world, those were not just a possession. They were you. Your name, your safety, your whole self. God asked him to let go of all of it. One circle at a time, the hardest one last. And what does Abraham get to go toward? A promise. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. I was reading this week, and one scholar pointed out something I'd never noticed before. In those opening verses, Abraham is given exactly one thing to do. Go. Go. And God says, "I will." 7 times. 7 times. One small human step and 7 promises from God. The whole weight rests on God, not on the human being, not Abraham. Abraham only has to do just and move his feet. Here's the part that the grandchildren must have loved. This great father of the nations, what does that mean? Great father of the nations. He's 75 years old, and his wife cannot have children. And the land he's promised, when he finally arrives, already has other people living in it. An old man, an empty future, and a land that is not even empty. Now, do you hear the why the children by the river leaned it? Because that was their story too. Old before their times, no future they could see, living in a land that was not theirs. And the word their grandfather was pressing into their heart was this: God's blessing did not wait for Abraham to have something. It came when he had nothing. It might come to us too. But here's the line that turns the whole story. God doesn't just say, "I will bless you." He says, so that you will be a blessing. You'll be a blessing. And in the Hebrew, that is not a someday, not a maybe. It is almost a command. Be a blessing. Be a blessing. The blessing was never meant to stop with Abraham. He wasn't blessed to keep it. He was blessed to pass it on. And in you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Do you remember the song that Rick brought us last week? The river is here. I think I almost started dancing like a Steve at the front in here. That is what God was telling Abraham. Not a pond holding its water until it goes stale. A river blessed, so the water keeps moving to the next person and the next, all the way to all the families of the earth. The river of God is right here. So let me ride my bike back home, back along the San Lorenzo. Because here's what I am beginning to see. And all this time, I have been asking the wrong questions. I kept asking, what can we do? As if blessing was something we had to be big enough, strong enough, secure enough to hand out. As if I had to fill the reservoir first. But that is not how a river works. Abraham had empty hands, and God said, be a blessing. Be a blessing. Not once you have arrived, not once you have settled, not once you own the land, right there in the going, with nothing in his hands but a promise. Let me tell you about something that happened right here. One of the quiet gifts of these years together is that our time after worship has grown from a quick cup of coffee into a real table, a feast on some Sunday. So we did sensible things. We made a schedule by last name and 4 weeks of folks to set out the food and then wash up. And on a fifth Sunday, then everyone pitches in. But you know how it really goes. Some Sunday, the food overflow, and there are more hands than sink. And some Sunday, the plates piled up. And few faithful people are still standing at the sink long after the rest of us have driven home. And here's the danger no one says out loud. When the joy becomes a burden carried by few, the tables start to shrink. And back toward a quick cup of coffee. And the feast we all love quietly lose its light. But last Sunday was a fifth Sunday, right? And then someone came to me afterward and amazed. More people had brought the food than usual, and yet the dishes were finished earlier than anyone could remember. Not because a crowd started together. One person finished their own plate and washed the one sitting next to it. And another saw and came over, then another. It just kept moving hand to hand, and it never broke. The count got past 9 before anyone lost the track. Nobody organized it. Nobody was in charge. The blessing simply moved from one person to the next. And from one pair of hands to the next, the way a river does. Now, I have to be careful here. This is not a story about the 9 good people. So the rest of us go home feeling bad. Some washed only their own plate. Some left theirs in the sink and went home. That is all right. That is all right. Finishing early was never the point. That hour at the table is holy. It's where we come to belong, to one another. This is not a roster to live up to. It is a river to step into. The question is never, am I doing enough? And a river never asks where the water came from. Whether you have a roof over you tonight or you're done. Whether you can still drive or never could. Whether you have given for 50 years or walked through the door for the first time this year. The same current run through all of us. And the same word is spoken over every one of us. Be a blessing. Be a blessing, not a strong blessing the weak. All of us, with whatever is in our hands, becoming the river to one another. The only question left is, will you let it flow through you? That friend of ours, the one who can no longer drive, he could have said, well, I'm done. I have given what I had. But he hasn't. He still comes. He still makes a coffee. He still set the table. And he checked the candles in the sanctuary before we worship. He lost the keys to his car. And he is still a river. Because being a blessing was never about how much we hold. It was always about what we let move through us. So here's where I will leave us. Where whatever is slipping from your hands, the strength, the years, the certainty, the sense that you have anything left to give. Here, the word God spoke to one old man with empty hands. Be a blessing. Not someday, not once you have arrived. Right here in the going with whatever is in your hand this morning. So here's a question to ponder. Whose plate is sitting next to mine? The one I could wash next. You don't have to answer me out loud. Just carry it. Because in a few moments we will come to this table. And the bread we share will pass from hand to hand. The way it passed from Jesus' hand to his friends. From theirs to next. To the next. For 2,000 years. And all the way down to this room, this morning, into your open hands. So you are holding this blessing because someone passed it to you. Now, whose hands are next? You don't have to fill the reservoir, friend. You only have to let the river move. One plate, one cup of coffee, one candle, one neighbor by the water. Come to the table blessed and go from it a blessing.